La tauromaquia, the epic art of bullfighting. This has been a long-running tradition all over Europe for many decades. Many decades. That we believe has started by the ancient Minoans. And throughout the years, with the combination of the many different cultures around Europe, it has developed into the arts form we see today. One of the major contributions to that is ancient Rome. It can be seen on one of ancient Rome's most recognizable traits or cultural distinctions of the art of gladiator fighting. It can be very similar to what current bullfighting is right now, which instead of being man versus man, it's more man versus beast on an epic dance of death against each other. This long running art has been throughout many iterations. One of its early iterations was it would be the torero would be riding on horseback with a pike, and it would be him and his other group of helpers trying to kill the bull. This, of course, has greatly changed throughout the years, and now it's something completely more different. In part due of King Philip V's rise of power in Spain, when he started disapproving of bullfighting, because bullfighting used to be something that only the nobility would do, something the very affluent or powerful would do to display their skills or their money. As the King Philip saw this unfavorable for nobility, it would seem a little bit ungraceful. It passed down to the other people in civilization, the what makes up the power of the nobility, the commoners, just the regular townsfolk. They took this tradition, and like you would say, it would grabbed it by the horns, and carried it all the way for them. And now it became a little bit humbled. It became something more to show your love for the craft instead of just a display of your status. This in turn, of course, changed many things. One of those being, of course, since it's mostly commoners running the show now, of course, they wouldn't have horses or like pikes or any of that fancy equipment. So it would just be them with a sword and a cape trying to bait the bull and trying to kill it in the arena. It would change to more like a ground and ground fight instead of just you being mounted on the horse. Even though it can still be seen in some other styles of bullfighting later on in the future, or we could say more current times. One of the many things that bullfighting is known for, it's for the toreros, of course, but most people like to call them los matadores, right? Everybody knows a matador, right? Is they got their shiny cape that's usually yellow or magenta. Their amazing swords. Whoa, their amazing swords to kill the bull. Of course, the S-stock. It's a very long. It's a very long and extremely sharp sword that's used to like exactly hit the bull in order to give it a swift death after it has displayed its fighting prowess throughout the entire event. Also, of course, something that Los Matadores are usually known for is their beautiful golden suits, or silver sometimes. And this was something that was not the common thing to happen. But thanks to Joaquin Rodriguez, one of the most famous toreros in history, it was became more popularized to be a little more fancy, more have more finesse, be a little bit more flamboyant, have some spice. This became now it's part of the norm. Now it's a thing to be expected in every bullfight, as it's now commonly associated with every torero and matador. But thanks to him, there has been some other people that have been inspired to take out the mantle and the sword in fighting bulls, and that would be women. Surprisingly, some people might believe this, some not, but there are some women who are incredibly interested in actually performing in the ring against the bull, which actually has been documented for a while. But has been, even though it has been documented, it has been kept like very low key, very secret, because it's used to be very prohibited. As a man ran like artistic endeavor, you could say it's incredibly male dominant, and some men, they really like their things, kind of like football. They don't, it's a boy's thing, right? It's a man's thing. They wouldn't want women in there. But fortunately, women have made their way in there, and they've done incredible jobs. One of them being Cristina Sanchez. Cristina Sanchez was the very first woman to become a fully fledged torera, certified, and a matadora. But, of course, after passing the rite of passage of being el alternativa. Passing an alternativa is you passing a test against a younger bull. You would have to kill it in a show with many other novice toreros. And after doing this, you would become a torero, which is what they honestly like to be called. They don't like to be separated by gender, usually. But yeah, she was the very first one to become qualified in Spain. Also, another incredible woman who's also done an amazing job as a matador. It would be Lia Vices. Lia Vices is it's one of the more famous matadores around the world in Spain, and she's incredibly famous, well known, even more than some of the men that have been performing in there for years. Which it's quite ironic. It's supposed to be a man's sport, but amazing and wonderful ladies also participate and do an amazing job as well. Another one of the things is for bullfighting. There's also, it's like a team. It's not only the torero. There's also el bandillero, which they come in and help the torero and put some funny. They put some funny, pretty bright stakes on the bull halfway through the match. They help to enrage the bull and give it a little flair to the match. There are also los picadores. Picadores, like I said, they are kind of like a callback to the very original way of bullfighting, which the picadores would come in on horseback with their great pikes, and then they would try to poke a little bit at the bull to get it again even more angry, but also trying to weaken it a little bit so it's not too much of a hassle at the very end of the entire spectacle for the matador to put the bull down. Unfortunately, though, there has been many issues that have arisen recently against bullfighting. One of them is the increasingly dislike of bullfighting across not only Spain as a nation, but throughout all over the world where bullfighting is being practiced. There has been many protests all over the world. Especially in Spain, there has been many protests that even got to the government, up to the government. Some governments in Spain, they have decided to ban the practice, but then the main national government decided that no, it would ruin it because it would ruin the cultural image of Spain. Because even though it's not exactly where bullfighting started, it has become the heart of the bullfighting community across the world, as it's where it became the most popular and what people recognize more as the home of it. It has also been looked at by UNESCO as not a cultural treasure to Spain. So that's also not pretty favorable against this amazing style of art. Another great problem that has arisen is on Spain. They're, they have been in a incredibly bad economic recession, a massive decline in the economic power of Spain, which has also limited the amount of availability for bullfighting, which came at a horrible time because soon after this massive depression hit Spain, COVID-19 also struck. COVID-19, of course, has been affected everybody's lives for the past, oh god, how many years has it been now? Like 4 at this point. It's been a horrible thing that has affected everybody across the world. And honestly, it has been incredibly hard thing for us to manage and be able to cope. But if you imagine us in this a personal way, think about like the many hundreds and thousands of people being unable to not only perform, but all the people who have been unable to attend events and this great cultural experiences. This unfortunately, like I said, combined with Spain's great depression, its decreasing popularity across the world, has really pretty much almost doomed bullfighting as an art, because now it's looked at with sore eyes. It's not something welcomed by the majority, as it has been shown in various reports of people that have been questioned and polled throughout Spain, which unfortunately is a pretty big shame. And with all of these horrible bad things combined, it looks like the future for bullfighting is up in the air, and who knows what can be done now. It's really uncertain if we'll be able to see any more bullfights in the future due to the effects of, like I said, COVID, especially being one of the most important things because it's incredibly dangerous, and I think that it will continue to impact us even in the future.